Ho mai ka ike mai luna mai o na mea una no e au o na mele e ho mai e ho mai ai ho mai kai ke mai luna mai o na mea una no e au o na mele e ho mai e ho mai ai ho mai kai ke mai luna mai o na mea una no e au o na mele e ho mai e ho mai
Oh, mahalo nui. I appreciate you for starting us off with that grounding and intention and gift. We're going to start by trying to think about our intention and our purpose. You know, there were the things that were written about in the grant application. There were things that we discussed in the first orientation that were put onto the website from Purple Maya. I've gotten a lot of questions about it. And my hope is that this voyage becomes our voyage and that we all take on um, roles of alakai in various ways and that we help to steward this voyage and that all of us are contributing to the vision. The goal is that this program serves all of you and your hui and your communities, your places that you'll be working with. So I want to help set the intention, but I also want to create a space where each of us gets to contribute. So I'll talk about how we can do that in just a moment. But if you're already on the story map that we've been using as a guide for this voyage together, under today's session, there's a Jamboard, a Google Jamboard link that I think everyone should have access to and be able to contribute. If you haven't used Jamboard before, it's pretty simple. But throughout the session today, as you have mana'o, you have thoughts on different topics that we discuss. It may not be that we can have an open discussion with this many folks. There are over 30 of us on the call. But I would still love for voices to be heard and represented and be able to be processed and reflected in the directions that we take and how we navigate this voyage together. So originally, this is the language that we used to help launch the program, that together we will help create a path to a sustainable future for our islands and ocean home while becoming leaders and ambassadors for the stewardship and regeneration of the places and people we care about and call home. I also think that there's, deeper purpose and intention, a bigger vision to this program. This is an attempt to help highlight the ways that we can love the ocean, that we can love the land, aloha aina, and that we can also love each other and build beloved communities. This program, I hope, becomes more and more grounded in Ike Kupuna, that we look to our ancestors, we apply 7 generations thinking, that we look deep into our genealogy, backwards and forwards, to try to understand the gift that our places are and that we're a part of and how we're all connected. The sort of living systems thinking that we're going to want to apply. And in some ways, I hope that this voyage together becomes a seed that allows all of Hawaii to begin to not even begin to continue and to grow the ways that we direct and share our own stories and gather and collect our own data and be able to shape the stories of our islands and our relationship, incredible relationship to the ocean, and that we might even offer some of those as lessons to the rest of the world. So for me, that's the intention. And I would love to hear from some of you, um, both out loud today, but also stop sharing so I can see everybody on the screen again. I would also just love to hear from you on the Jamboard, but also maybe a few of us out loud is, for you and maybe your hui, what is the vision? What is the emerging vision, the island that you're beginning to see as we get ready to launch this program? And I know we may have a lot more questions than answers, but for anyone who's seen a sign or who's been working in this work for a long time and is excited for this program for a particular reason, yeah, I would just invite us to kind of share that little bit of vision and purpose so that we can add it to our shared and collective vision. Does anyone have something they want to share?
Sure, I'll
Yeah,
share.
yeah, Jennifer, please.
Yes, aloha. I'm coming from Parker School and the Big Island in Waimea, and I just have to say, okay, my day was crazy. I went and got to paddle with my Kupuna group, and then I got to give a test, a final exam to my sixth graders, and then I got to go back down to the beach and hang out with a friend and see the ocean and look for whales. So what's on my mind personally is our water and our sustainability and our island and our bigger global island. But looking at what's happening on Oahu right now, looking at what's happening on our own island, really trying to just dig in and figure out how we can solve some problems. It's my students, they're on here on Zoom, and they are so smart and they are so creative, and they are going to champion the problem solving that we need. So I'm super excited to be engaged with problem solving and really looking at things from, we're sad about what's happening, but we can really solve these problems. So that's a little bit of my hello. And I just think that we're in a great place because we're coming together to really work together.
Mahalo, Jennifer, for bringing the vai, especially as many of us deal with uh, frustration and anger and a lot of emotions around what's going on in Red Hill on Oahu, and also the youth. Yeah, thank you for bringing both of those into our intention and vision that this is something that we know our youngest generation, our Hamana, our Keiki are going to be capable of figuring out so that we can live for a long time on these islands. Mahalo for that. Couple more voices I'd love to hear.
Aloha mai kako. My name is Joylyn Poman. I'm representing the nonprofit Kimokio Foundation on the island of Maui. We recently just acquired a partnership with a landowner out in Maliko, which is located on the north shore of Maui. And it's really inspiring what you were just sharing, Daniel, because what the vision that you were portraying about our kupuna and seven generations is actually what's driving our upcoming programming for education at this particular location in Maliko. I guess this is kind of the official first time I'm ever introducing the program. It's called Keala Kupuna. That we are doing things along the pathway of our ancestors, and the whole idea behind what we're doing is getting youth who are fluent in Hawaiian, such as immersion students, to come to the location in our valley and engage in cultural practices. But what I'm really looking forward to doing is having um, using these resources and this technology to be able to merge our youth with modern day science and technology with what our ala kupuna is. And so I don't have a full hui yet, working on it, but I'm just happy to represent Maui and share a little bit about what we're doing there. Mahalo nui.
Mahalo, Joylyn. We're so excited and fortunate to have you there on Maui and to be joining us. And I know we had Joylyn and I had a great conversation with a couple of with another participant as well. And I know that beautiful things are happening on Maui, and excited to have Maui represented in the program. And yeah, love what you said about bridging the ancestral, bridging the knowledge of our ancestors with um, technology of now and technology of the future to make sure that we're honoring all of their knowledge and wisdom and with the latest tools and resources that we have. So thank you for sharing that. Maybe I'd love to hear from everyone, of course, but maybe one more, and then I want to introduce a special guest and talk a little bit about some of the inspirations that are inspiring me as I continue to develop and participate in the program, and then maybe hear from some of you about some inspirations that you've come across as well. Anybody else want to share what's their purpose or vision for this program? What signs are they paying attention to now as we get ready to get started?
You mind if I go then, Daniel?
Not at all. No, I love it.
Because I'm hoping maybe you can help resolve a problem of our name for Hui. So I'm Christina Conrad. I teach over at Voyager Public Charter School, and I have been working on my community partner with Manoa Heritage Center. And last year we were fortunate in being able to have a lot of opportunities to take our middle school on a learning journey to Manoa Heritage Center on several occasions to help them connect with the place where they're learning and with Manoa Heritage Center. And so I've invited them to join me on this. And we were talking yesterday and trying to decide on a name. And we were having difficulties, but in doing one of these NOAA Be Wet programs, there was the thing of like helping kids learn about plants, helping them learn about our ahupa'a, and also the watershed, right? And so with the Red Hill issue, we were talking about how to bring that in. So anyways, we have two names, and I couldn't decide between the two, but maybe you can help us. So here are the two names we were looking at, and maybe the team here can help us choose between the two different names. Where one is to ho'okahi, to cause flow, and the other one is o'ili vai, which is the appearance of fresh water. And we were kind of thinking this idea of like we could somehow manage to inspire kids, and the idea of water flowing and fresh water would be like reviving kids' interest in nature and the watershed. I don't know. That's what our thinking was, but any input from others would be grateful to help us decide on which one of those names would best represent us.
Oh, mahalo, Christina. Thank you for opening that up. I would say let's put it into the chat, and I'd love for folks to share any mana'o. To me, Manoa is such a special place, one of the most densely populated parts of the islands, that was so much water flowing in that valley, and over the years it's been stopped up and somewhat polluted, and we know about some of the challenges we face with freshwater resources in the valley and all the way out to Aluwai, which of course feeds out into our ocean. So it's super awesome. I'm really glad that we have folks who are in very more rural parts or less developed parts of the islands, and we also have hui and folks who are working right in the heart of developed parts of Oahu. So it's going to be really, really awesome to learn together and share with one another. And So I'm not gonna speak to my favorite of the two options or any other potential options, but I hope the chat will continue to help you with that, Christina. I think that's awesome. So thank you. All right. Well, I would love to introduce a really special guest who I'm just getting to know, but who I'm already so impressed with. Kainalu Stewart created a ArcGIS story map based on an expedition by several native Hawaiian scientists, Kanaka scientists, who went to Papahanaumokuakea. And I know that he also just got back from another expedition there. But this story map was selected as one of the National Geographic and Esri Story Map Challenge finalists. It's really beautifully done. Some of you might have had a chance to look at it. I went ahead and put it up on our own story map as inspiration. But I asked Kainalu if Kainalu would come to talk story with us today, kind of just casual Kaya, and share a little bit about the work and, you know, the process and everything that went into that, since I know Papahanaumokuakea is not a place most of us will get to directly access, but those are the Kupuna Islands. Yeah, it's where our Aina is born, and so in a lot of ways where our culture and language and islands come from. So really stoked to have Kainalu here with us today, and look forward to this conversation and hopefully even more as we get a chance to know more about Kainalu's work. He'll tell us a little bit about his current studies and work over on Mokuokeawe on Hawaii Island and as well. But yeah, Kainalu, welcome. Thank you so much for being here. I'm going to spotlight you for everyone so everybody can find you. But yeah, you're the star. Yeah, aloha, bro. Thank you.
Yeah, aloha nui kako. Mahalo, Dan, for that introduction, and mahalo everybody for welcoming me into this space, and really just here to share a little bit about my experience in creating the story map that I did. But yeah, I'm Kainalu, and originally from the Mokupuni of Maui. Grew up on Lahaina and the Pili side. But yeah, currently living in Hilo for school. I'm in a graduate program pursuing science pretty much here at UH Hilo. And yeah, as Dan said, I was really stoked to connect with him recently and just kind of getting to know the work that you folks will be jumping into. But I hope you folks are able to kind of check out my story map and hopefully put some inspiration and thoughts when you folks are building yours. But yeah, for me, I'm no expert, just a disclaimer, no expert in creating story maps. This was actually the first one I ever created, and was really self-taught. And there's a lot of resources out there that Esri offers as well. But I pretty much stumbled upon it through the lab that I work in, and one of the professors pretty much forwarded me emails encouraging me to try it out. And we recently just got back from a trip to Papahanaumokuakea, where we conducted multiple research projects out there. But the trip was especially, I guess, special for us because it was led by a group of fully native Hawaiian researchers for the first time. And so I really wanted to highlight that within my story map. And that was kind of my key takeaways that I wanted the audience or viewers to take away when checking it out. So I can kind of share my screen. I don't want to take up too much time. I really want this to be like a space for you folks to ask questions and kuka really, or share stories. So I'll share my screen and kind of just quickly walk through what I created and hopefully talk about some ideas that you folks can also adopt in your folks' own story map. And I think it's really cool. Creating this has really, I think it's a great opportunity for us to share more about our places and really highlight our places and the work that we do at a different platform. So yeah, really excited for the work you folks will be doing. But yeah, this is my story map, and it was entitled Beyond Science into Pole. Native Hawaiians reconnect and build relationships with ancestral islands in Papahanaumokuakea. And I really wanted this to, although the challenge for the ESRI challenge, I guess, was to highlight climate change and ocean conservation. I kind of wanted to more so highlight us just going up as Native Hawaiians and really just connecting with the places. And the research was sort of an addition to the work that we do. And so I kind of start the story off talking about Po and our connection to Po and the significance of these spaces, as we know from the Kumulipo. And so that could be an idea for you folks, maybe as an introduction, introducing your story and bringing in traditional stories of place or other mo'olelo that you want to highlight and really setting the scene with that. And so that's kind of the route that I chose to go. And then I talk more about Papahanaumokuakea, the Marine National Monument itself, and show some pictures and talking about the biodiversity as well. And then I kind of go into talking about our trip and really emphasizing our crew of Hawaiian scientists on board and the awesome work that everyone is carrying out. So yeah, and there's the cool thing too, I would really encourage is using the hyperlink tool, I guess, that you can hyperlink Olelo Hawaii, so different words, and really get the greater audience to learn our language and our practices. And so that's a cool, I guess, tool or feature that you can utilize as well. And then for my story map, I also wanted to highlight a specific kanaka or specific person, and that was Haunani Kane, who you folks might know. She's actually my advisor, and she was the lead researcher on this cruise. And so thinking about maybe even highlighting certain kupuna or community leaders in your folk story might be a great idea too. And these are just mana'o that I'm throwing out, definitely just a framework. So this is what I decided to do, and really highlighting her work, and was able to throw in a few of her mana'o or quotes that she talked about. And then I go more into the research that we did and talking more specifically about the science aspect of it, I guess. And so our scientists, we're looking at the effects of climate change to these atoll or low-lying sandy islands in Papahanaumokuakea. And so you can see the left picture shows the island before a Hurricane Walaka that came through in 2018 and after it hit. So this is a pretty cool tool that ArcGIS also shows, where you can maybe show like a before and after of how the Aina used to look before and how it looks now. And then a little bit more of the coral reef stuff that we did out there. We created 3D coral models with that work. A little did you know to kind of separate the story and transition, I guess, into the next project that we did, which we're serving Opihi. And I think even adding our Kuana Ike Hawaii or our Hawaiian worldview within these stories, such as how we refer to Opihi as i'omake, or the death fish, because of how dangerous conditions may be when harvesting them. So those are certain ways that we can include our Kuana Ike Hawaii, I guess, within the story map. And then I get into the huaka'i, where I basically just walk the viewers and the audience as if they were with us on board to the different sites that we went to. And so we walked through to the different islands from departing from Kaneohe, stopping on Kauai, and going through all the different islands that we visited and conducted research on. sorry, just gonna quickly go through it. And then I kind of just ended off with our ho'i and really emphasizing that this trip was beyond research and just reminded us that we're products of resilient kupuna who continue to guide and inspire this collective work that we all do. So I guess my main audience, and I hope this story inspires us in Hawaii directly, but also other Native and Indigenous communities out there, especially within the sciences, to hopefully apply themselves and their culture to the work that they do. But yeah, this is pretty much what I put together for my story map. And I also have a bunch of resources that I found and was able to use that really helped me out. So I'll send down a document that has those links, but Esri is really good. There's a lot of resources out there that helped me put it together as well. But he has my email as well. So if you folks have any questions throughout your process, I'd be happy to help out however I can. But yeah, I'd love to open this space for questions or any mana'o. But mahalo nui.
Oh, mahalo. Yeah, we can all just mahalo Kainalu. I definitely want to ask a few questions or have the group be able to ask a few questions, but that was it's such a beautiful story map. And one of the things I loved about it, Kainalu, is that you utilize a lot of the different features that are actually fairly easy to use. Yeah, like I saw a comment, I think from Sandy, about the swipe feature that's built into the story map, where you can show before and after Hurricane Malaka, the effect it had on our low-lying islands. And we've been thinking as a project team about the various ways we could look at tides or the effects of different restoration or regeneration efforts on habitat and ecosystems. And so I definitely appreciate just how well you integrated so many of the different tools and features in the story map. I'm curious if you had kind of a favorite one, like if there was a tool that you found or a little part of the story map that you felt like really helped you convey some cool dimension, some cool aspect of the trip.
Yeah, I think for me it was switching up the different transitions. So there's different options of how you can display I guess how they'll walk it through. So you can either like scroll and it'll be these large photos and slowly it'll scroll up and down, or you can have like a slideshow where it goes from left to right. And so for me, it was just utilizing and switching it up to where it felt right. Or if I wanted to highlight us as Hawaiians, I'm gonna put a big photo of the high Hawaii, you know. So little things like that. And like you said, the ArcGIS tools and the different features that they offer is fairly easy to navigate. So like everyone thought that was really cool, like having that before and after. They're like, whoa, how did you do that? And I was like, I really just put in 2 pictures and the tool really just does the rest of it. So yeah, just finding different ways to be creative and how can you, like I said, if it's maybe showing like a before, how the aina looked before and maybe after. And so utilizing those tools that really bring out what you're trying to convey to the audience, I think was, yeah, how I kind of just navigated it. And it's always fun to have like that walkthrough map if you have like points around the places that you folks will be working. So you can like walk people through your aina as if they're there with you and use that tool to really show that, oh, this occurs at this area, let's go next to this place or what, yeah, whatever. So yeah, I hope that answered your question.
Oh, that was a great answer, Kainala. Thanks. And I'll ask one more and then open it up to anyone else who wants to jump in, and we can take a little bit more time. I don't want to take all of Kainala's evening. He's been generous to give us this time, but I'm curious, you know, if as you did a great job of highlighting the focus on audience, yeah, and who these story maps are for. And we have, I think, a part of this voyage together, this Future Navigators project, is really, we hope we're creating a seed where communities across the islands and maybe around the Pacific especially indigenous communities, as you talked about, and all the folks who are allied with them throughout the islands and throughout the Pacific, can gain access to these tools and learn how to use them to really be able to tell their own story. And how, how do you feel about, you've been able to go on this expedition as part of this Native Hawaiian scientist crew. And now as we look out into the ancestral islands, as we turn our attention back to the main Hawaiian islands that we all call home, that we all live in, what role does this kind of storytelling and story mapping play? What are some of the hoped for kind of outcomes as more and more people participate in creating these and also participate in looking at them? What do you hope comes out of it?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it's just another tool or technology, as you guys are talking about, that today we can really take advantage of to highlight really anything that is close to us, and highlight the work that we do back home, and really be able to highlight places that people don't always get to go to, but show it on a different platform. And so, yeah, I think I just hope that these story maps will hopefully inspire other people to maybe get involved in this type of work, or just learn more and take something away from it. So yeah, that's a really, really good question that I'm still trying to answer, I think, myself. But yeah, mahalo.
No, I love that. Yeah, no, it's exciting. I think there's a lot of possibilities that I hope that you continue to help show the way, and that other people sort of jump on board, including all of us, in trying to figure out what kinds of really amazing influence and impacts we might have by telling more stories from our own perspectives, from our own communities. I think it's going to be really awesome. All right, let's open it up, and maybe if folks just want to raise their Zoom hands, because that'll move you to the top of the screen. So if you go down and you see reactions, you can raise your hand like I just did, and it puts a little hand in your corner, and then we can go through a few questions, and I will definitely share, since Kainalu asked for it, gonna give it, share his email. You all can reach out, and I will definitely share the resources, because you really did an amazing job, Kainalu. Well done. Unbelievable that's your first one, Yeah, pretty cool. Oh, I see a question in the chat. Kainalu, are you available as a guest speaker? Do you contract out to help Hui with their own story maps? Oh, you're gonna have some work to do now, Kainalu. Up your price.
I mean, I would love, yeah, I would love to share however I can be of a kokua to, if you'd like me to come and talk, yeah, to whoever your class. But I do not contract out to help with story maps, unfortunately. This is kind of just a side project for me. But like I said earlier, if there's anything I can help with, from what I know, I'll be more than happy. Just reach out to me via email, and if I don't know the answer, I will definitely try to point you in the right direction. So, but I just want to say mahalo, you folks, for enjoying the story map and really supporting this collective work too.
I will say that was my set of questions, and I just want to honor you as a very talented young Kanaka. You could contract out. We would, we all got to pay our bills. I didn't catch which island you're on, but they're all expensive. So just want to plant that seed with you. So your work is amazing, and you are so humble. But I just want you to think about that.
Yeah, mahalo, Sandy. I appreciate that. Thank you.
We do have time for one or two more questions. If people want to ask Kainalu anything in particular about his story map, or about the work that they're doing in Papahanaumokuakea. And I loved how you, Kainalu, I thought you shared some great points about how can we highlight kopuna in our communities, or folks who are really doing great work? And the story map is not all just about, you know, what we typically think of in traditional geographic information. Yeah, it's like, it's richer than that. There's more context. So you provide so much context in your story, and I really love that about it.
Yeah, I think it's important to highlight places as well as people of the place. So that's a cool yeah, thing to think about.
Awesome.
Um,
Oh, I think he's muted.
Finley, did you have a question? No?
Oh,
All right.
If nobody else has a question, I'll go ahead.
Shoot, go for it,
Yeah.
Jack.
Yeah, mahalo nui for sharing, kind of, that was really, really awesome. I know with the story maps, you know, that's a whole skill in and of itself, but I'm sorry if I missed this, but I just wanted to ask, you know, kind of maybe if your role was more in the data collection side or more in the, you know, content, video, photography collection side, or maybe both. And if it was both, maybe, you know, which side was your favorite throughout that process, or maybe where do you find more creative inspiration in the data side or the content side, and what was it like kind of marrying those two in the process of putting together a story map?
yeah, that's a great question. So for me, I guess personally as a student, most of my work heavily is working with the data side and collecting the data. And this story map was an opportunity for me to kind of communicate what we do as scientists to the broader audience. And so, yeah, I mean, I don't have a lot of experience with, I guess, working with media and this sort of platform, but I really enjoyed the process. And looking back at it, a lot of people are able to look at it and understand more of what, I guess, what we try to do within the work that we do as scientists. And I know it's like hard to communicate sometimes, like those technical things that happen in our lab and stuff. So yeah, I guess, yeah, just bridging the two was a fun and cool process. And I hope that I can continue to do it in other forms, maybe in communicating this science work.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a reason why technical writers are paid so much. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for your response.
Yeah, I hope I was able to answer.
Are you in the conservation biology program at UH Hilo?
Yeah, that's the program I'm in. Yeah. I see Kiko asked if I know James Akal. Yes, I do. I know him from a few of the HUIs that was able to be a part of, and he also did marine science at UH Hilo, where I think it was marine science. I met him through the university though, but yeah, I hope he's doing good.
One of the best things about you know, doing this kind of project in Hawaii is like there's so many ohana connections and friend connections, and so I love being a part of these calls. Last call felt like a family reunion, so this one kind of does too. So I love it. It's really awesome. All right. Well, I am going to, I threw Kainalu's email into the chat, but I will also include it in an email along with the resources that he's generously sharing with us. And his presentation to us earlier in this session will be included in the recording, so you can share that with other HUI members or go back and watch it. But just a big mahalo to you, Kainalu. It's awesome to watch, you know, as the student becomes a master. Is really cool. So I know you're super humble and just feel like you're just starting out, but I think I can speak for all of us. We're really impressed by not just the work that you do, but not just the hana, but the mana behind it. And yeah, it's really, really awesome. So privileged to have you with us today, and thank you for being here.
Yeah, mahalo nui, Dan, and mahalo nui, folks, for allowing me to share space. And yeah, good luck with your folks. Papahana, the work that you guys end up doing, and really excited to see the story maps that you folks produce. So yeah, mahalo nui. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Kainalu. And yeah, we'll be in touch, and feel free to hang out. You're welcome to stay, but we also know it's a busy season, and understand if you've got to go. So aloha.
Hui ho, mahalo nui, folks. Aloha.
All right. So yeah, fantastic. I hope that was inspiring to all of us, and helpful, and kind of grounding us in the kinds of things that we might do and might be creating together as our hui. I'd love to highlight the genius of our own main Hawaiian islands in the same way that Kainalu was able to so beautifully do it for the ancestor islands, for the Kopuna Islands. So I thought that was a cool way to start. I appreciate him joining us for today. I also wanted to share a few more inspirations before we jump into introductions, and allow people to share, see who's in the room. Some other inspirations that are coming into view for me. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. I don't know if we're all familiar with these projects or not, but I hope I will include them in the follow-up email, and also on our story map, so that you all can see them. But the first one is Big Ocean, and it's related to the creation of marine protected areas and ocean conservation around the world, but primarily focused on the Pacific. And it was born here in Hawaii. And so I thought it was especially relevant. Naya Lewis and Aulani Wilhelm, they were both instrumental in starting this project. There's an incredible podcast called How to Save an Ocean podcast. Has some really rich perspectives. There's also just a lot of great information about the various marine protected areas that they work in. And so I'd encourage all of us to check out this bigoceanmanagers.org to see a little bit more about this big ocean. I think it's a really important project that we are going to be connected to. I also was inspired by one of our participants, one of you, to reach out to Mission Blue, who also shares an affiliation with National Geographic. And I've had the enormous pleasure and privilege of meeting Sylvia Earle, who founded Mission Blue, and spoke with her today, and her daughter Liz a couple days ago about Olavalu, which was named one of their hope spots, Mission Blue's hope spots. It was the first Hawaiian hope spot, and one of just over a handful in the United States. And so I thought, oh, this is really cool. I found out from Liz and Sylvia, they're actually working with Esri to create maps of these hope spots. And this notion of a hope spot is something that's inspiring to me, because I think all of our communities are hope spots. I think all of our communities are feeding and nourishing the ocean, and can and regenerate the ways that they feed and nourish the ocean, and return nourish us. And so I love this concept of hope spot, and wonder how we might use it. Maybe an official partnership, but maybe just in sort of learning alongside what they're doing. So it's not just Olavalu. I really think all of our communities would be outstanding examples and candidates for this way of thinking. So I'm not going to go too far into it, but the hope spot with Mission Blue, another big inspiration. Again, I'll include these links. In another conversation yesterday, I came across what is actually a really cool, it's not an Esri ArcGIS story map, but it's a really cool, very long PDF story map of a certain kind that features various locations and hui working in those locations. Some of them represented here, right? I think we'll see Sandy represented right here, who's on the call today, doing incredible work in Pu'uloa. And a number of Huiloa, in Kahana, right? We can see a lot of places here on Oahu and across the islands represented in this document. So I'll share this as well. This is from the Hui Malama Lokoia gathering that took place kind of right before COVID shut things down. But there's a lot of really cool data in here. There's a lot of really great stories. And one of the things I'm going to ask us to think about is, what's the data that we already have? What are the stories that we already know and carry in our hearts, carry in our conversations with each other, that we've been passing down, that already exist in our communities? And how can we start gathering those in preparation for building our story maps? So I'll share this resource, but I thought it was a really nice, includes folks from other indigenous communities around the Pacific as well, that came to Hawaii for this gathering. So pretty cool document. The next one that I have up here is talking about those communities from around the Pacific, is this Marine Protected Area Network that exists on the northern shelf of British Columbia, Canada. So you're looking at the west coast of Canada there in that map. And what they've done, led by tribal leaders, First Nations leaders, and elders, it's an Indigenous-led framework for protecting their ocean resources in this incredible region of the planet. You have Haida Gwaii here, and you have dozens of First Nations groups that are represented along this British Columbia coastline. One of the most biodiverse and one of the most spectacular places, sort of seemingly wild places, but a place where human beings have been living well in their environment for 10,000 years, which is pretty remarkable. So I've been studying and talking with folks from this region, and inspired to think about ways that we might start building a foundation for this network of marine protected areas that extend into our main Hawaiian islands as well. Pretty ambitious goal, but I think we're doing some of the early work involved in that. Similar part of the world, or really the same part of the world, there's this interesting group called Salmon Nation. Extends from Northern California to the North Slope of Alaska, transcends national borders and boundaries. But it's really looking at how indigenous and local communities and cultures are generating incredible ideas and practices for sustaining and regenerating their communities. And so it was another resource. Again, I'll include this in the email, but these are just some of the things that are inspiring some of my thinking and of what it is we're actually setting out to do, and what it might become. Trying to hold that vision in my mind. And the last one is, I just got back from spending nearly a week with one of my teachers, Janine Benyas, who wrote the book called Biomimicry, Innovation Inspired by Nature. She lives in Montana. But one of the ideas that I learned in my study of biomimicry is this notion of a genius of place. And so I'm going to share this resource as well, but it outlines kind of a process for thinking about how we might look to biology and ecology, look to nature to help understand how our places are really working, and what helps them flourish, what helps them stay resilient, what helps them adapt to changing conditions, what helps them provide the food and energy and water that communities need in order to survive and thrive there. So this concept of a genius of place is another thing that's really inspiring me. Stop sharing. But those are a handful of things that I'm studying and looking at and talking with folks about, to try to understand what it is I've gotten myself into by inviting you all on this voyage. So I wanted to share those and be transparent, and also present it as I really feel like I'm learning along with you all. I do know a little bit about the GIS technologies and some of the remote sensing and media technologies that we might be using. I feel very deeply connected to a lot of the places that we're working in, but I really am not the expert in the room. I think we're really in this together and going to need one another to learn all the things that are on offer in this experience, in this voyage together. I would like to, I'm going to check the chat really quickly. Yeah, I love it. Drew, I did notice one question come up in the chat about were all of those created using the story map software that we're going to use. Kainalu's example was definitely use the exact same software we're going to use. The British Columbia Indigenous-led MPA network is also built, they're building their tool on Esri's software, but not on the same story map software. Although I spoke with one of the elders from the Haida Nation yesterday as well, and they're excited to think about how they might create story maps from their own local knowledge and perspective that help highlight effective conservation practices in their communities. So it is something that other communities are interested in using, but the examples that I just shared are not really yet represented on story maps, which I hope is something that our program helps to spark and change. Yeah, very similar platforms, and I don't want us to feel like the Esri story map software is the only place that we can go to tell these stories. They need to live in multiple places and media and in multiple forms, but absolutely. Oh, look, I love the connections being made in the chat. That's really the point of tonight. So does anyone have any other inspirations that they want to share before we sort of move into some introductions? And Jack, just so you know, I'm going to put you on the spot and ask you to introduce Purple Maya for us. Yeah, so just so you can have a few seconds to wrap your head around that. But any other, you can throw in the chat, or you're welcome to unmute. And what are some of the things as you've been thinking about this program that you're drawing on, that you're looking to? We heard a little bit from Joy Lynn earlier about this connection that they have to this new piece of land that they're going to be able to work in and on Maui, and super excited for that work in Maliko Gulch. And but what are the inspirations? What are the things that are getting some of us excited about participating in this?
I'll pop in. As a teacher, again, it's inspiring to come to really honor and validate. And I think it's a Hawaii thing, but I think it needs to be a global thing, to validate the qualitative, and that it is as important or more important than the quantitative data. And we can collect some data, and we can collect water samples, and we can know like a minutia of information, but it is really the story. What has been here, what is here now, and what is coming. And you know, I put this forward to my students when I show them the mega labs, and I show them the let's get inspired, let's be interested, and let's talk story. And that is the connection. And yes, the data is there, and that is important, but it is also what we observe. And it's that qualitative piece. And I think story map, and now that this has come into my life, I'm seeing it from my friends at NOAA, I'm seeing it all over the place, and it is valued as science. It is not just an accessory to science. This storytelling is valued as science. And I think that is really, really important for our students to understand, that it's not just numbers and crunching data, that we are actually putting this into place and understanding it as connection.
Yeah, it's beautiful, Jennifer. Thank you. I know that for me, the draw to use the story map platform rather than just teach the traditional GIS, which you can get kind of buried in the weeds, you know, trying to learn all the different aspects of GIS, which I'm also happy to help share resources and teach what I know in that regard to any of the hui who really want to go off the deep end into the GIS land. But the story maps allow us to tell really powerful stories, place-based stories, using some forms of quantitative data that help us tell those stories, but really add that context, add the mo'olelo, and add those layers of meaning that might be hard to represent on many sort of traditional maps. So yeah, stoked that you're seeing that and inspired by that. I'm definitely inspired by that as well. I will also save the chat. We're getting a lot of great comments and context and insight in the chat as well. So I'll make sure I save the chat and that people have access to that too. Any other inspirations coming to mind for folks?
I feel kind of overwhelmed by all the possibilities. Like it just seems like there's so much we could tell or do and how to pick one and focus and get it done.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Paige, because you know, in the time frame that we have, you know, Kainalu was able to dedicate this time on this research expedition and take this project on as a master's student. Many of us are participating in this project as just another thing that we're doing on top of the many other things as well. So making sure that our expectations for ourselves in these first few months of 2022, that we're allowing ourselves to learn one or two tools that are really helpful to us and that we're excited about. And then we can play around with others as well, but making sure that we're, you know, being, I don't want to say reasonable because I don't like being reasonable, but you know, being appropriate with our expectations for ourselves and being gentle with ourselves. We're going to do some amazing work and have some incredible stories to tell, and Story Maps is going to make that easy. I did see Sandy's comment, I think it was Sandy, about the survey and how that was integrated. You know, one of the tools we are going to use and that folks could start to already imagine how they might use is the Survey 123 tool, which is what I used to create the form that you all filled out and then turn that into this sort of crowdsourced map. And I'm excited for the ways that you might engage students, outside community members beyond this project, how you can really start integrating citizen storytelling and citizen science and incorporating some of that important data into your own maps. And that's really really gets down to the question I want us to be carrying forward after this meeting. We're going to share our introduction in just a moment, but really considering what data do I already have? What stories do I already hold on to that I might want to represent? I don't have to create these maps from scratch. All of you are deeply connected to the places you're working with already. There's already so many incredible stories to tell. People have been doing this important work in Hawaii for hundreds of years. And so let's honor that and let's reflect those stories in our story maps that we create. And then let's identify what new data, what new stories do we want to tell? What do we want to see happen in our communities right now? And how can we do that and include that in our story map as well? And I thought one of the reasons I asked Kainalu to come is because I thought it was so beautifully done in that story map that we honor the ancestor islands, that we honor the long story that those islands have, the million-year story that those islands have. But he also talks about what he did and what that team did today, what they did this summer, what they found when they went there now. And might even begin to paint a picture for the future, what we hope we can do to keep these places protected and continue to love these places as they deserve. So absolutely, those are some things I'd like you to think about. I want to get into introductions. So it's we've been going for about an hour. Is that right? And I'd like to spend probably most of the rest of our time together, just making sure we get to hear from all the voices in the room and get an understanding of where people are and what places are represented and what they're hoping. I'm going to speak on behalf of Malama Mauna Lua because I don't think, and maybe also Ke Kulanui o Waimanalo. And I'm looking through the participants to see if I know a number of our project team members actually had to be on actually had to be on a Department of Aquatic Resources Zoom that was being held tonight as well. So there's folks having those official meetings. Maybe we should have just merged them, but I do want to represent these three organizations, actually four, that have really been so generous to host this learning and to help shape this learning from the earliest part of the programming, earliest part when this program was just an idea. And those groups are Malama Mauna Lua, and they're represented by Alex and Laura, who are going to help facilitate an incredible session for us, along with Restore with Resilience and Kuleana Coral, along with Huli and Austin Kino, who are going to take us sailing and teach us about celestial navigation. But we're going to venture out into the ocean in our first in-person field session in January. And I'm really excited for us to learn about the coral and the nearshore habitats, the limu and the seagrass in Mauna Lua Bay, and all of the cultural history there. We'll be joined by some of our kopuna in the evening. After introductions, I'll talk a little bit more about the plan for that session to get feedback from everybody. But I'm just really thankful for Malama Mauna Lua and for the work that they've done to care for the Bay, to really help heal the Bay. Those of you who are familiar with Mauna Lua Bay on Oahu, I think will know and recognize the impact of the work that they've done, the stewardship and conservation work that they've done in the Bay over the past 12, 15 years. So I'm really thankful for them. I also just want to acknowledge and introduce, although they're not here tonight, Ikaika Rogerson and Kimiona Kane, who really give so much of their hearts and their love to all of the land and all of the ocean, but especially over in Waimanalo. Ikaika leads efforts at Kekulanui o Waimanalo. Kimiona leads the Waimanalo Limu Hui. They've been doing some incredible restoration work, rebuilding the rock wall at Pahonu. Some people call Obama's swimming pool there in Waimanalo. But Pahonu is a really sacred site, and they've given it a lot of love and attention. And we'll get to spend our second day in the field there with them, learning about all that nature and culture have on offer in that place. And I'm really looking forward to that and thankful for their support. And then finally, we have a group from Haleiwa made up of from the Malama Loko'ea Foundation and also Wanana Paoa, the voyaging canoe there in Haleiwa, that are going to host us in late February for a day of incredible learning in that fish pond and out on the ocean on the canoe. So very, very excited to get to work with Kamaki and Sayo and Jacob and Emily at Loko'ea, and invite all of those of us who can be here on Oahu at the end of February to what I think will be a really special day, caring for that place in Haleiwa. So yeah, thankful for all of them. And then I'm gonna invite Jack. Jack and I have worked together in several really amazing programs that Purple Maya has to offer. And I'm really appreciative that Jack is joining the Future Navigators team and has come alongside and helped me think through this program and what it can be and should be. And so, Jack, yeah, I'd love for you to introduce yourself and Purple Maya, and then we're gonna pass it over to our participant Hui.
Yeah, sounds great. Thanks, Dan. Super excited to be here with you folks and contributing to this project. Like Dan said, we've worked on a few things.
Oh, Jack, your audio cut out. Don't know what happened. Earpods, maybe. AirPods died. Promise I wasn't just pranking you and muting you. No, we can't hear you yet. Wouldn't be Zoom without at least some technical hiccups.
Can you hear me now?
You can.
Right on. Apologies for that. No, I was just wanted to thank Dan for the introduction, and yeah, like you said, we've worked together on some really fun projects before, some biomimicry stuff, and I see the Iokepa Guerrero family here who've participated in some of our other programs as well. My name is Jack, and I wear a lot of hats at Purple Maya. I don't usually participate in too many of the youth side of things, but when I get to, it's really a privilege. I love being inspired and learning from all of the amazing youth that we get to work with, but normally kind of on more of the community facing side or in the entrepreneurship branch of Purple Maya. Our mission, that we have kind of laid out is to inspire and educate the next generation of culturally grounded community serving technology makers. And so what that means in practice is we end up serving kind of three separate groups. One is OPO, and so we kind of define that as sixth grade, maybe up to the college level, and we have a lot of classes and programs where we're teaching things like programming or robotics and different technology facing programs. And then that kind of middle range is what we define as Ohana, and these are often Native Hawaiian or Kama'aina folks who are interested in entrepreneurship or design, or even upskilling, learning things like programming or Salesforce. We have some workforce development programs there. And then the third kind of segment of folks that we serve, we define as Nahui, and these are folks who have or are just starting to form companies based in Hawaii. And so we work with a lot of really amazing startups and community serving companies and nonprofits. And I feel very fortunate to be helping out with our Found Her program, which is a startup accelerator program. If you're familiar with that, it's for companies that are formed by Native Hawaiian, Pacific Islander, Asian women. And so that's a really exciting project that I've been putting a lot of time into lately. And so, we're just excited to, help out with this project. It's, really amazing. And I love personally the aspect of working with data and media. I have a lot of experience with photography and videography and building websites. So super excited to be here with you folks and learn from all of you and see the amazing things you create and support in the ways that I can. So mahalo to all of you, and mahalo Dan for being here tonight. I know, and just putting all of this together.
Love you, brother. Thank you. Jack is a master of so many things, and we're lucky to have him. I did see Jennifer ask about the Found Her program. Absolutely. If you're not familiar with Purple Maya's other programs, the Found Her Accelerator is really remarkable. I love following them and seeing what they're doing. The Kamaka Inana program that Jack and I have had the privilege of working in sort of community, culturally based, place-based entrepreneurship and design has been really rich and rewarding for me. And of course, all of our programs for Haumana and Opio, it's so amazing to see young Hawaiians really diving into the depth of knowledge and capabilities that they have already in their store, in their DNA, and they're embedded in their culture and in their place, and then adding on to that all these cool new technological insights and practices as well. So I love what Purple Maya is doing. I feel blessed to be a part of that community. Those of you who aren't already connected to Purple Maya in other ways, I encourage you to look for those opportunities. Same goes for all of our partners. They all have community work days, opportunities to volunteer, opportunities to learn with them. And so I hope that it's not just one-off connections with these incredible project partners, but that you're able to, make some lifelong connections. It also goes to the Mega Lab. I know a lot of us are big fans over at UH Hilo, and I'm sure, with Kainalu and Haunani and Cliff and John in the Mega Lab and the whole rest of their team, and also Nakalaiva'a, the incredible folks at Makali'i, and there's so many amazing programs. I hope we all get more invested as we go. I will, yeah. I can definitely share emails, and Jack can throw his email out there too, and Most of the project team, who I just introduced, is included as they're CC'd on the emails that I send to everybody. So you can find their emails. They're not blind copied. So you'll be able to find their emails there as well. All right, I would love to hear from all of you and find out who all's in the room. And I asked us to sort of frame this using Auntie Pua's. Auntie Pua Nana Burgess is building a beloved community practice of guts on the table, na'au on the table, where she invites participants to share the story of their name, the story of their community, and the story of their gift. It's been really powerful for me as I've come into various hui, various groups and teams to sort of come in and really be able to step into the space with a little bit of vulnerability and trust and a willingness to connect na'au to na'au with other folks in the space. So a little bit hard to do on Zoom. Normally we would do this in a big circle and be able to tune in to one another and see and feel each other's presence. But I'm thankful for being able to do it here on Zoom with all of you. And I'm going to invite one representative from each hui to share. And while they're sharing, I'll invite the rest of us to just give them our full and undivided attention if we can. Some of us might be driving or in places where it's not quite possible, but I would love to do that. And I'm wondering if Daphne is still here. Daphne, are you still here? And are you willing to introduce Mauli Ola o Pa'alaea to us from
Yes.
Honoka High School?
Can yeah, I got done driving. Mahalo for this opportunity, and we have our hui, the hui name Mauli Ola o Pa'alaea. We kind of came up with that through our summer program that we had down at our school farm. That we kind of discovered that the ahupua'a's name is Pa'alaea, and that there's like a whole story behind that. 2 summers ago, we heard a little bit of history of just that school farm area, and we also heard a little bit of history about that ahupua'a Pa'alaea. And so we're still learning about our place. And so, and we were also talking about doing a storyboard. So this kind of was so perfect, I thought, for our organization. But we are right now made up of, besides myself, we have our Hawaiian language teacher at Honoka High School, Uilani Makabio. We also have our elementary garden teacher, Fiona Fong Weingartner, and we have our community partner is Keelani Spencer, who also helps us teach. She's also a teacher, and she's with Hamakua Harvest. And we are also working on another community partner. But I think we really need to confirm that first, but we're working on another community partner. And there's also people in our school, I think, that would like to somehow be involved, but I think we got to figure ourselves out first before we can start bringing in others. And we also have been trying to choose students to be involved in our hui as well. So I think between the 3 of us, we've gotten either 2 or 3 students each, and along with Ki'i, making recommendations and trying to put together our hui and deciding what our story is, where we've thrown out so many different ideas and our thoughts and on Mauka to Makai with climate change, watershed. It's just so many different things that we've been talking about, finding out our true ahupua'a geographic area, and just so many different things that we kind of got to start putting things together and figuring it out. Our Hawaiian language teacher and Kilani also came up with our who we named for our summertime. And so we decided to stick with that. And we also created our Oli for our place. And so we're off to, I think, a decent start, but now we kind of want to get into it a little bit deeper. And I guess that's where we're at. And that's our hui right now. Mahalo.
Oh, mahalo, Daphne, and to the whole hui. It's exciting to hear about, when the people in the land were colonized and we lost some track of the real places that we're connected to, and to see you all with young people across a wide age range, going into the community to rediscover that and claim that. That's really powerful stuff. So really honored to have you as part of the program and excited to see what we can do together. Mahalo for being here.
Mahalo.
All right, I'd love to. Paige, do I need to pull anything up, or do you have access to what you wanted to share for?
I did. So if you can share, or can I share? You're muted.
If you have access, Paige, you should be able to share.
Okay, sorry. It was a bad idea to switch computers when I haven't practiced this on this computer. Share. Can you see yet?
It hasn't come up yet.
Sorry. Okay, can you see that?
We can. It's going to start. Yep, there it is.
Oop, it's not. All right, I'm in the wrong place though in the slide progression. Yikes. Shoots.
Maybe use the arrow keys if you can, Paige. That might help.
Sorry, I'm using this viewer that I haven't used before. I'm used to the regular PowerPoint.
It looks like there's two
Okay,
arrows on the
ready
bottom.
to go. Sorry, guys. The name of our hui is Na Poi Auhiva Opuna, bearers of the sacred light of Puna. And Puna, of course, is one of the 9 districts on Hawaii Island, where most of our members are from, but not all. And we do have Kiko, one of our hui, on this call, and Diane Franciosa was on earlier. So beyond the geographic district, Puna can also mean spring of water or riches. And so that leads us into our broader hui, that it's more than just our geographic district. And the name came in consultation with my kumu hula. And the concepts that we wanted to incorporate were bearers of the sacred light, which is part of our halau name, with the idea that we're trying to light our path to the future. And also the idea that we're on the backbone of a lava wave. It really changed Puna, and it's, that's our past and our present and our future. Where are we going? The organizational partner we have for our hui is Malama o Puna. We're an environmental protection and community sustainability organization. And Diane and I are both halau members and board members of MOP. And we're doing a lot of food sustainability projects now. The educational partner is our halau, which is over 20 years old. And for 8 years, we practice and are still practicing in Leilani subdivision, the site of the 2018 eruption. So we have many stories that we could tell about that, how it affected our halau and how we're trying to recover from that. So our hui members are separated by over 50 miles. I stuck Kiko up in Laupohoihoi where he sometimes stays, but he's also really from the other side of the island. But that was just too big a scale to show how far apart our different members live. And Kiko is a lifetime sailor. And so he's one of the kumu that will be contributing to the project along with the halau, which he has also studied with. And then we're down to our youngest members who live in Puna. And so we have quite a diversity in the people, and our gifts, I think, are still to be brought forth. One of the first things we did to build community was to have a map making party for our youngest members. So pre-digital, we made maps with paper, ribbon, glue, and fabric. And I really recommend this activity. It's a great way to get kids thinking about what is a map. And last, how we're gonna share knowledge is, like I said, we've got like way too many ideas. We're going to struggle to implement them all. But some of the mapping needs that we know about, we're going to work with a group called Volcano Friends Feeding Friends. And I think they originally looked at forming a hui with future navigators, but I think we'll probably absorb them into our hui. And the first goal is to just identify where food producers are and then connect them with the program that Volcano Friends have of distributing food, but they need to find the food before they can distribute it. And the second part of this slide, part of our issues in Puna, the county has money to help us recover from the lava, but they're trying, they're not always distributing it as maybe the local folks would like. And so we have some issues there, and there's been map needs that have been identified as part of a resilience project that the county's doing. So I'm going to end there, but I'm really looking forward to figuring out what we're doing and all the possibilities. I don't know if Kiko, you have anything you want to add?
Yes, I do. Am I unmuted?
Yes.
Okay. My Halal members asked if I would be part of this. And I think one reason they asked is that I have a resource that I've often made available to the community and organizations. I have 3 wa'a, 2 wa'a kaulua, double canoes, a small one and a medium-sized one, and 1 large wa'a kaukahi, or single outrigger. I've worked with many schools and community groups, educational and cultural events. The other thing is I have a background in maritime history and have been giving talks at Lyman Museum and the national parks and libraries, a series right now, landings and harbors of Ka'u, Kona, Kohala, and upcoming Hamakua, North and South Hilo, Waiakea Bay, Hilo, and Puna. Another talk is available on the Wa'akaulua, or Hawaiian Double Canoe, and yet another on the Golden Rule Project, which is a nuclear disarmament and peace education vessel. Also participated in the North Pacific Gyre cleanup of plastic marine debris aboard sailing vessel Kwai with Kiribati crew members. So I'd like to, I noticed the folks from Parker School, one of my sailing students is a student there, and Hamakua, Honaka'a people, Hilo UH students. If you have use for any of those resources, feel free to contact me. Thank you.
Mahalo nui, Paige and Kapena Kiko. It's an honor to have you here with us, and mahalo for your generosity.
Oh, I wanted to make an acknowledgement. As a young person, I was a student of Captains David Lyman and Norman P. Anaya in seamanship and navigation. And I saw that name. You were, Daniel, you were talking about how you bump into connections here.
Yeah.
Austin's my cousin. And then saw Chris Corley on there when I was a 14-year-old captain delivering a boat from Kauai to Hilo over 4 days. That was one of my crew members.
I
Thank
love
you.
it. I love it. I love it. The Lyman family has been really generous to me and teaching me a lot as well. So it's an honor to know you have that lineage from David. Oh yeah, yeah, beautiful. Always family reunion every call. Next up, I would like to invite the Anini Hui, our Hui from Kauai, and Drew. Are you going to represent the Hui?
I am going to represent. It's going to be a tough one to follow, Paige, with your slideshow and keep all your good stuff there. I'm going to do my best. Robin Mazer is really the captain of this Hui, but she welcomed a new grandbaby into the world today, and so she asked me to jump in. So I have to put down my paddle and direct my canoe now. But my name is Drew Koick, and I'm a middle school science teacher. I'm a teacher in Kauai at Hawaii Tech Academy. And the Spill My Gut story started a few years back when I enrolled my own son in Robin Mazer's great program called Reef Guardians, which she runs here in Kauai at our place of our story map called Anini. And it's a great 3-day program where she gets young kids in snorkeling on the reef and helps them to identify fish and vertebrates, and turns them into reef guardians by teaching them how to protect the reef. And I'd said to Robin, I said, wow, wouldn't that be great if this could be a school program, if we could bring this to the classroom? And she gave me the sideways look. That's an idea. And so I kept pressuring her and working and trying to get grants written and pressing her. And then the second time I enrolled my son in the program, she said, hey, how about that idea? So here we are now. We found this program here. And with this, we're going to join up with one of our Hui members, Harry Rabin, who is an oceanographer, and he has been working through a Microsoft grant to use underwater rovers to map out the coral in a project. I want to make sure I get everything right here, but in a project called Project Blue Spots, Project Hope, I think. Let me make sure Hope Spots, Mission Blue Hope Spots from Sylvia Earle Alliance. And so being a science teacher in middle school and wanting my kids to engage in scientific practices, Harry and I have been working to get my kids engaged in collecting data on the reef, teaching the drones some AI software and teaching them how to identify the coral. And as we started to dig deeper into this project, we realized a lot of things. The name Anini may not be historically right. It may be Wanini, which was a plant that grew in the area, or Manini because of all the Manini fish. And so we don't really know. So it's kind of on the very border of two mokus. And so we want to uncover more. We know that a lot of the freshwater inlets in the watershed has not been studied for over 30 years. And so my students and I, middle schoolers, are going to dig in and try to collect some more data on Anini, and then hopefully figure out a way to restore a lot of it. Anini, if you guys have ever been over Kauai, it's the longest, and correct me if I'm wrong, Daniel, you might know, but it's the longest stretch of uninterrupted reef in the whole state. And when you ask a lot of people, they have rather negative perceptions of it. I think it's a dead reef, but there's still a lot of life and a lot to restore. And that's what we hope to tell in our story and share that. And and bring some of the history of Wanini or Manini or Anini. And then eventually we'll get a really good name, I hope, because all of your Hui names are really inspiring.
Oh, mahalo nui, Drew, and to your whole Hui, and congratulations to Robin. Super exciting to have the new life coming into being. And I really love going from Puna all the way to Anini in Kauai. And one of the things I love about this voyaging crew is that we span a lot of the main Hawaiian islands, and so super impressed. Thanks for sharing that, and super excited for the high-tech aspirations and incorporation of AI, and how can all of that is something I think, Drew, I can tell you're going to have a lot to teach all of us. You might be busy giving a lot of tutorials.
Once I learn how to drive it and not wreck it, I'll let you know.
Okay, excellent. I'd love to, next up in the chat is Joy Lynn, who shared a little bit about Kimokeo Foundation earlier, but I'd love, Joy Lynn, for you to share some more, share your introduction, and then maybe invite the Ka'ahui Ohana as well, and Jenny and any of the kids who are around to share a little bit. We had a great conversation yesterday that left me really excited about Maui's place in the Future Navigators program. So Joy Lynn, over to you, and then please feel free to pass over to Jenny and the Ka'ahui Ohana.
Okay, mahalo nui. Can you hear me okay? All right, awesome. I've really been inspired by listening to everybody's stories. And then one of the other hats I wear is I'm a kia'i lokoi'a as well for Ko'i'i Fish Pond. And then now seeing Kainoa's example of a story map, and then actually this picture behind me is one of those that can kind of be part of the project, is to look at our lokoi'a from the mountains to the sea, and then doing studies about our ocean and the impacts about our fish pond. And we also just had the storm last week, which is evident of what happens. Mauka affects what Makai, and often when you see it on the news that Kihei is flooding, that's our fish pond being flooded, and we put the wall up and she come right back down. Up, down, up, down. 20 plus years of this that I've been doing this. So I can still merge in my Keala Kupuna idea because it is Olelo Hawaii, and so maybe I can get that with the kids. So like I mentioned, I don't have students yet, or I don't have a full hui, but now putting on one of my other hats, I could definitely do something like that. And Ohana Ka'ahui was wonderful to speak with yesterday with Jenny, and learning more about Olowalu and her family's connection. So thank you for inspiring me, everybody, and it's evolving. Mahalo nui. Jenny, are you there? Can you share a little bit more about Olowalu and what
Yeah.
you were talking about, I guess? Aloha no.
No, yeah, hi, nice to see you again. This is Koa with me, and Koa goes to Malama Honua. Say hi, Koa. Hi. And my daughter Keala is outside the frame, but she goes to La Pietra here on Oahu. So our hui would be split between Oahu and Maui, but my family is from Olowalu, and I did put a little bit of a slideshow together, which is kind of embarrassing. It's almost like a family album of sorts, but I hear so many teachers and scientists in this group, and that's so wonderful. And that's not necessarily my skill set or what I'm bringing to the table. My skill set would be that I'm bringing my family and really our generational connection to this specific land, and us speaking, from the heart about what that experience was like for all of us. So there's some cool things going on. And let's see, do I know how to share? And hopefully I share the right thing. Screen. Let's see that one. Do I go like this and share? Okay. Is that showing? Yeah? Okay. So these are the coordinates for Olowalu, and Pu'uhonua is sanctuary. So this was always designated as an area that was protected. So nobody could be harmed here. This was a safe area to be in. You know, it was nothing of harm could be done to you there. And I know how to. And then, as Dan was saying, this is the only spot that's currently designated is a Mission Blue Hope location, which I found just when I Googled Olowalu, and that was designated back in 2017 when the Hokule'a came by, and it was a really cool thing. I think Sylvia Earle is awesome, and to have that designation here is so great. And I use the same picture that's from their website, so I totally plagiarize that. And then you get to kind of embarrassing again, but this is my dad and I back when I was a child, and just kind of my notes on, I used to get walked across the highway on Maui, walked across to the reef, left out there all day. Somebody used to come and get me for dinner. So I kind of knew that reef better than I did the land back when I was a kid. And my cousins and I all had very similar experience to that because this was my grandma's house. So the first pictures in the 1940s, my dad's the little guy. I think he's in overalls. And then this is my grandfather, who was born in 1895, I believe. So, and this is my grandma's house, my grandparents' house here, which everybody kind of passed through. And then here you see my two children, let's see, probably about 7 years ago. And this is with two of my aunties. So my Auntie Connie, my Auntie TK. Auntie TK, this isn't full screen, sorry, but she is currently the person residing in Granny's house. But really, it used to just be mattresses on the floor. All the cousins went through there. My dad's from a family of 9, and he has 11 kids. So we have a really huge family. So if I talk about brothers or sisters, it's because there's a lot of us. And also, while I was growing up, we used to go up to the Lo'i, which is up Ukamahame Valley, if anybody's familiar with West Maui. And
is that Uncle Chris?
That's Uncle Chris, yeah. I know.
Is that you?
That's Auntie Brittany, my younger sister, and then one of my younger brothers, Edward. And then the guy in the middle is actually Ua.
Who's Ua?
Ua's kind of like a Hanai, like family member of ours, who's actually working as a cultural consultant at Kipuka Olowalu. So we're headed to Maui this weekend, and I'm going to reach out to Ua to see, if they want to be involved. So it's pretty funny because he has pretty close ties to my family. And it'd be kind of neat to have him involved there, but he's doing all kinds of regenerative practices. And really, he was taught that by my older brother, Chris, who's going to be part of our hui, and also my father. So it's neat that he's already working in that respect there. And then as far as community partners go, because currently we have myself, who I think I'll be the designated captain because I can show up for meetings. We've got Keala and Koa. Also, my dad is a great grandfather. So I'll have 3 of my great nephews involved, and then my dad. So we're going to have 4 generations involved. And we don't need it to just be the Kahui family at all. Anybody's, welcome from Olowalu if there's interest there. That's just who I've been able to get in touch with. But as far as community partners go, we've spoken with Kimokea and Jalen, which was so neat to hear from that because we could usually use some support. Also, I spoke with Peter Martin today. There's a lot going on with development in the area, and a lot of things that are probably going to be said coming up real soon about what's going to happen with this land, which makes it even more interesting about where the land is going moving forward. If it's not to be developed, who's supposed to manage it? If you're a landowner, what are you supposed to do with it if you can't do anything with it? Conservation wise, since it's a Mission Blue Hope. So I think that there's some things currently going on with this particular area that's really going to add to, what the story is moving forward. And I think part of what our hui is going to bring to that is kind of where it's come from and what it's meant to us as a framework for moving forward what's going to be great. Also, a friend of ours is part of 4Ocean. I'm so sorry, let me turn this down. And she's going to, she's already signed on to help in the marine biology, area. And then, as I mentioned, I'm going to speak with Ua about Kipuka Oloalu participating. And then also have to touch base with Timokea and Joylyn and see if we can partner up somehow. And yeah, that's everything.
Mahalo, Jenny and Koa. Thank you guys for taking us through that, and Joylyn as well.
Yeah.
It's such a gift to have Maui represented through so many different lenses, and I know it's evolving, but I'm really excited for what it evolve into, especially with your help, Koa. Especially
absolutely.
I'm here. I'm just not in the frame.
And Keala's here too. All right, guys. Thank you so much, everybody. So happy to be here.
So happy to be here. Bye. Mahalo.
Oh, thanks, family. We're gonna jump over from West Maui across the channel to Molokai. And Ola Molokai, who's representing you today? Is it Kilia?
Yes, aloha and hala. So we have hala. Hala is actually going to share the screen because I'm actually running off my hotspot from my phone. So I'm going to actually turn off my camera in a little bit just so that I don't get dropped.
Oh, well, thank you for being here on the hotspot.
Mahalo. Hala, you got it? Okay, where is she? There. Okay, go to share screen, the green button at the bottom. Sorry, okay, now what? Yeah, and share your full screen. You got the thing open, yeah?
On my computer?
Yeah.
No, I got okay. No, I don't. Okay, wait now. Sorry, I was looking at them on my phone.
Okay. I can try share, but I'm going to turn off my camera, and if I get dropped, sorry.
I'm not real
I think I got it. Hala. Can you guys see my screen?
We can, Kilia. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, because I don't know what I'm doing.
Okay. Okay. So we're Ola Molokai, actually Ohana Learning Alliance, Molokai. We're actually a homeschool program. We barter like kauhalao, but we barter our skills and knowledge. Nobody pays, nobody gets paid. I'm kind of the coordinator and one of the founders of it. And our program pretty much runs like our logo. So imagine the keiki being the circle in the middle. That is actually hina, and these represent our kind of like our ocean rainbow, you might say, like our reefs and goes out. But at the same time, it also represents how our program is formed. So the light blue is actually our ohanas sharing in our ike with one another for our keiki. And then the darker green is our individual community partners and practitioners in our community. Many of them have been kupuna. We formed in 2010. So, or 2011, Kalamai, 2011. So we're now 10 years old. And then our third, the darker blue also represents like our community partners. So nonprofit organizations within our community that have programs that, basically they're looking for keiki that they can teach, and we bring that to the table. Just wanted to throw in to the mix that with our community practitioners, the individuals, because we don't have kala to share, basically what we do, we let them know We don't run off of money, so but we have plenty hands and hearts that can come. If you have a project you want us, you have or you want us to do, that's what we come with. And that's how we've been operating for 10 years, without kala, without money. No need money. We have plenty partners and we love it. So it is definitely a collective, which Hala, who's will be sharing in this presentation as well. She is one of our community partners, and we've already been, we established that from last year, that we'll kind of go in a little bit. So we're from the island, Molokai Inuya Hina, and the area that we're going to focus on is the Konamoku, specifically in the Ahupua of Kamiloloa, Oneali'i, and Keawanui. And Hala can speak on some of these areas. She is from Kamiloloa. Myself, I live where the Fin is on our island. I live in Ho'olehua. We were both homesteaders. My ohana, the per ohana, actually migrated to Molokai, Ho'olehua, Molokai, in the very beginning when homesteading started in Kalama'ula. But my great grandmother, so she's from Waimea, Mana, Waimea. The Purdy's are all from Mana, Waimea. Ikua moved to Ulupalakua, my great grandfather's brother. My great grandfather and my great grandmother, Kale Lindsay. My great grandfather is Harry Kanekawai Purdy Sr. Moved with the first original homesteader to Molokai, and got awarded in the first wave of homesteaders in Ho'olehua, the Ho'olehua district. Hala, and if Hala wants to jump in, she can speak her ohana, actually homesteaders in the Kamiloloa, Oneali'i area of Molokai. Hala, did you want to speak to that?
Okay. My great grandfather also originally lived up in the Ho'olehua area. In the 1970s, my father was awarded a homestead in the Kamilolo Oneali'i area. So when I was 10, we relocated, my family, my dad, my mom, and all of our siblings relocated to Kamilolo Oneali'i in the 1974. So this is basically where my children and my grandchildren now are being raised. And we, as president of our Homestead Association, one of the greatest losses that our kupuna saw was that of our ocean resources. And the base of our ocean resources lies in the limu that grew abundantly along our shoreline. So over the last 15, maybe 20 years, noticed a dramatic loss of our native limu. And so as a homestead association, we started a program, a project really that Kilia was instrumental in helping me get started, through a grant from the Office of Hawaiian Affairs. And what we are attempting to do is to regrow our native limu, one, to keep from losing it, two, to help provide for our kupuna who don't have access to it or are unable to gather themselves anymore. And through this malama of our native limu, Kilia and I, the plan kind of grew into this big monster because we noticed that most of the decision makers in our, in our government are not our culturally rooted, locally raised kids. And a lot of times that is because they don't go out to get the pala to take on those positions. So we wanted to have our culturally rooted kids aspire to seek degrees of higher education so that they could be the ones, they can be the ones in the future to make the decisions for us. And for our islands in the future. Yeah, and take not just Molokai, but all of our islands, because it kind of seems like we all have, in a sense, this same vision of taking our islands and our resources and deciding for ourselves where they should go and how they should be used and how we need to take care of them. It kind of seems to be a common thread amongst everyone that we've listened to. But that's how our program was started. And Kilia was generous enough to allow her students from Ola Molokai to help us build a curriculum around not just growing limu, but taking care of our island ahupua'a style, from the mountain to the ocean. So yes, watershed has a lot to do with it. What starts up here eventually ends up here. And our kids need to learn that this is what holds our island up. So if we lose our reef, we lose our shoreline. Basically, we become like the atoll we saw in that first story map that Kainalu was showing us. Okay, Kilia, your turn.
Mahalo, Hala. No, so Hala covered a lot of it already. So I just wanted to show too, we kind of looking at the different ahupua'as, but different purposes too, and different things kind of going on in each ahupua'a. But Keawanui is one of those areas too. That is also the fish pond showing behind my screen, the Pua pond, that actually Hala's son and a couple others have, many hands actually have put together from the Keawanui site. We were just gracious. I mean, Hala says Ola was gracious. No, our kids, that's how our kids learn. We, through the Aina, and the only way we can get things like that going is through our community partners. So, I think very briefly, if we can, Hala, we said we're homesteaders. One, I am an educator. Got Noelani, that's how I know Noelani too, through Kahua Viola. So I became a teacher in Hawaiian immersion, worked for Kamehameha schools for a bit, and then I don't know, something happened and the light bulb went on, and I'm like, I barely get time to spend with my own kids, teaching, especially in Kayapuni. And no, we gotta flip this, and I want more time with my kids and teach my own kids, and not by myself, because but in a community, with our community, for our kiki in our community, and so that's how Ola Molokai began. And basically that's who I am. Hala, you wanna give your background? And Koaha, like you said, you're the president of Kamilo Loa Oneali'i, Kamilo Loa Oneali'i. What did it stand for again? Homestead Association.
Homestead Association. Yes. Oh, no, Kilia, because I kind of stuck for words right now.
Okay. No, yeah. So Hala, homesteader, and also the homestead president of her, the two ahupua'as. They're very small areas. They're and right next door to one another. I think she said there's about maybe, I don't know, probably like 20 homesteads in her area or so. And many of them kupuna age, her age and above, and very, very limited of the young people in that area. But so moving forward, this is our situation, problem, if you want to call it. Gorilla ogo, invasive species all along the south shore of our island, suffocating our native species. And about 10 years ago, one of the first community partners I was involved in, or community practitioners, one kupuna who always did ele in Hala's area. When we went out, I built a Lavaia camp, and we learned from her, and about how to gather limu ele. And I remember her saying, "Oh, no more that much anymore." And from that time was like stuck in my head, and thought, if no more limu, no more fish. And so and just no more practice, you don't have the limu, the kupunas cannot pass down the knowledge without it. And of course, food. So from that time, it was on my mind. Hala and I got together through our homestead associations, talk stories, and was like, man, we gotta do this. So about a year ago, like she said, got that small grant, and this is what we've done just in the year so far. So this is Hala's front yard, oceanfront area, where the limu, like limu ele and other native limus would usually grow. So the blue tank where you see, what we're trying to do is grow it in tank so that we can replenish, because what we've seen is if you try to replenish right away or just try to remove, the gorilla ogo going to grow back. So we got to keep them safe in the tanks. This is at Kiawanui. This is what we're doing, utilizing the fish pond that's in behind me in my screen, that freshwater source running into these tanks, and then going right back out to the pool pond there. The middle section is Hala's front yard. These are, sorry, going back to the tanks, that's our Ola kids, some of them. We have more than that. The middle section is actually a early college course that ran this summer. So we took them out, we did quadriceps, and then we had them doing some science stuff and mapping and whatnot. And then, this was closer out to the east, this limu ele here growing. And so that's what we want. That's what we want to be. And Hala has this hapai as one of her like project things. And that's what we, through her project, this is her project, hapai, that's her name. And basically we want to hapai our resources, our native practices, our kama'ahina, our keiki, to be able to carry on and preserve these cultural practices. Limu is just one, and ele is just one. We're looking at least 3 natives that grew abundantly on the South Shore to try and restore. But like we said, we just started last year. We partner with a bunch of different organizations such as KUA. We have a DAR, one of our friends that work for DAR on Maui, and just other community partners on our island. So kalamai, that's us in a nutshell. Mahalo and aloha.
Mahalo. Thank you, Kilia. Thank you, Hala. It's beautiful what you all are doing. Inspiring to all of us. So thank you for sharing in that story. I want to invite, we're coming up on just under 30 minutes left, and I do want to honor everyone's time. It's been a long meeting. We probably won't get to some of the like next steps discussions and questions that I thought we might get to, but I can make time for those questions over the next few days or coming weeks, and we'll get together again in early January. So, but I do want to give our other hui a chance to introduce themselves. So I'll invite the Ohana Iokepa Guerrero. Do you want to introduce your hui?
Aloha mai kākou, o mākou ka hui, kalau iwa ka'alele. Can everybody see the share screen? Mai ka'i? Okay. So aloha, we are the hui kalau iwa ka'alele, and we will be, I'll be presenting about our name, and then I have 2 other group members that will also be presenting. So kalau iwa ka'alele is the name that we chose and we came up with for our hui. Lau is from the word laua lau, which means many, but it's also one of the words that is in Ko'olau, which is our region or Vahi that we are representing, and Iwa is the Iwa bird, which is one of the birds that is used for navigation, as well as one of the birds that can fly to the top and soar high above the clouds. So the many Iwa birds that ka'alele, which ka'alele means soar, but I also chose ka'alele because ka'a also comes from the word ka'apuni, which is to circle. And so if you ever see like the Eva birds, they circle and they like to soar in a circle. But also because in one of the mo'olelo that we found, the Eva birds would circle and soar high above in the Haiku Valley, and they were from Haiku Valley. So as we were coming up with our name, actually one of our members drew this ki'i in the middle, on the top middle, which is kind of like a logo. It's just like a rough sketch, and it represents the Eva. Kind of looks like a sun, but each a'a or ray is like an Eva, and it has 8 Evas, which represent the 8 members of our hui, which our hui consists of the Pa'aloha Aina, or the Papahana Aloha Aina group, and we have 5 Opio and 3 Makua in our group. So that our group consists of me, Maui Iokepa Guerrero, Lilia Iokepa Guerrero, Kalama Abad, Kamana'o Sarsona, and Kealoha Aina Kanoa Wong. And our Makua, who are also in our group, is Lena Ala Maderis, Kapono Iokepa Guerrero, and Noilani Iokepa Guerrero. And in the middle of the Evas, there's a little pico. I don't know if you can see it, but that is our pico, which represents our vahi, or our community partner, who is Kako'oiwi, which is represented by Anake Kahiao Wallace. And so that's the Ko'olau region. And I would like to pass it on to Lilia to talk a little bit more about our vahi.
Aloha everyone. So as Maui said, our community partner is Kako'oiwi, and they reside, or they're in Hoi, which is the name for the wetlands. And Hoi was also known for one of the bread baskets of Oahu, which means it was an aina that provided a lot of food. So it was like an aina momona. Hoi is, or the ahupua'a is he'eia ko'olau poko, and the keawava is ha'iku. And at the tip of ko'olau poko, of he'eia ko'olau poko, is Keahiaka Hoi, and Ioleka'a and Ma'eli are 2 other pu'u that are in. And then Ha'akolea, Kawaho, Kamano, and Kalokoi'a o He'eia is all the vai in that area. And then Kumulena Ala will be talking a bit more.
Mahalo nui. O wa'olena ala Maderis, aloha hiahi kako. So in Antipua's storytelling, my favorite part is always about the gifts. And so the makana I feel that our opio bring are their kuana ike Hawaii. All of the opio were members, and their ohana are already grounded in Olelo Hawaii. They've been raised in culture. They've practiced aina. Their ohana, as well as many of them, are Hawaiian medium, Hawaiian charter students. So I picked this picture to represent their gift. If you've ever been blessed to go to Kanaloa, it is the mark of where Makahiki starts and closes. The gifts I look forward to learning and developing alongside and learning from our OPO in this time with future navigators will be how they have a deep understanding and already grounded in Hawaii. When they see something like this, they would know what it is. They would know how to approach. They understand the rigor and protocols of practice. They understand the importance of olelo. So as we engage with Kako'oiwi and we go deeper into other mo'olelo you talk about, right, to highlight in the mo'olelo and the story, I'm excited to see how they approach it. And they're so mindful of pilina and relationships, seen and unseen. They're mindful of kupuna past and present, and understand the importance of our work today to preserve the future. So I'm looking forward for those gifts and to be part of that. And I think we all will learn and grow. But mahalo to our Opio and to this Papahana. So mahalo nui kumudan for also being with us this evening. And mahalo ya kako apau. Mahalo.
Oh, mahalo. Absolutely. Mahalo to the Opio. I think in many ways they have so much to teach us. So So thankful for that. And so thankful for that ohana and hui. I'm gonna invite Mark. Mark Ellis? Are you still around? Can you introduce your ola i kawai? There you.
Hey, aloha. All right. So we actually made a little video. So we're just gonna show the video and go from there. But let me do my screen share. Desktop one. Okay.
Aloha, my name is Abby. Hello, my name is Monica. Hello, my name is Monica. And our Hui's name is Olaikabai. Our community partner is Hui Malama Owai Onu'uanu, whose mission is to preserve and maintain the Owai of Nu'uanu. We will work together to inform, engage, and create positive action. Ola Ikawai.
Right. So that's our hui, Olahika Vai. We're from Nu'uanu, Oahu. And majority of the members of our hui have family who has been here for over 14 generations in Nu'uanu Valley. And we're Kuleana landholders in Nu'uanu of all places. So that's our hui. And we're excited to develop things and use the technology that you guys have to offer. So mahalo.
Mahalo, Mark. It's good to see you. Hope I get to see you in person on the Va'a soon. And excited to have your hui a part of this. And nice job on the video. Man, well done. I'd love to hand it over to Sandy. Sandy, are you, I know the Dream House hui, I don't see them represented. They might be on here, but I don't know if you've connected with them, but.
I'm honored to be able to represent them as best I can. So I'll share. We had just barely started, and I think like a lot of kumu, they're just trying to get through the next 2 days and help kids finish, bless their hearts, they get to go on a well-deserved break. So I will just, I will ask, can everyone see this? So as a retired school teacher, I am now the community partner with Hui Ho'ohonua, and I am honored to serve the vision of the kumu, they call themselves coaches and young leaders at Dream House. So we function in the Ewamoku of Oahu, and we are focused on Malama Pu'uloa, restoring Pu'uloa to its historical Aina Momona. And Dream House is that sunshine that you see pictured here, right in the middle of the Honouli'uli Ahupua'a. That's where our nonprofit has started restoring the Makai section of the Honouli'uli watershed, and we are uncovering a whole network of local ia. So what you see also in the bottom picture are the waters of Pu'uloa from Ka'iho Pala'ai, or what some people call Westlock, but we don't anymore. And this is in Ewa Beach. So we do not have a hui name. My job as a community partner is to support these amazing young kids in their vision. And I'm going to exit this slideshow for just a minute because their website is so cool. I just want to share that with everyone very quickly because it's not about the community partner, it's about the keiki. So Dream House is a charter school, and Ryan Mandato and the other kumu there, they call themselves coaches. It is such an inspiration to be able to work with them. Their mission to empower homegrown leaders through values-driven leadership, bold 21st century skill building, and a passionate commitment to our island community. So I've watched them go from a little tiny office space to this beautiful new school and watch them innovate. Right now, they're only middle school kids in age, but in impact, oh my gosh. So it's been my honor when they ask me to work with them. And I will tell you even more why. I moved here in 1994 and to teach at Mililani High School. I came here to be safe and to have a safe distance between my ex-husband and myself. And what I thought would be 1 year turned into half my life. And I will just say 2 pivotal things that boosted me on this journey was my first day at Mililani High School. I've been trying to figure out how to edit this for the multi-generational audience. But one of my students, Keanu, raised his hand and told me honestly and from his heart, "Miss, you don't know doo-doo." I'll use the word doo-doo. And he was right. He was right. So that launched me on a journey. I can call myself a teacher, but I'm more of a haumana. And I'm honored. I honor my ancestors from Scotland and Ireland. I honor my parents who raised me in Oregon. But the half of my life that I have spent here has been a journey of learning. And one of the things that I did was realize that I have to have other people teach my students. So we went on Aina-based education all over the island. Pauline Sato, who's in this group, was one of my first kumu that helped me take kids to the forest. And when we were on Kanaloa, Uncle Emmett Aluli said to us all, "Go home, take what you've learned on Kanaloa and do that in your backyard." And all of my haumana just looked at me because we had been going everywhere on Oahu but our backyard, which is Pu'uloa. The waters of Mililani or Waipiouka run into Pu'uloa. And like many, we were like, oh, let's just kind of avoid Pu'uloa because there's military and da-da-da. And so, of course, it was my students who gave me the assignment to start a nonprofit and get busy in our backyard. So while I was still teaching, I co-founded a nonprofit, Hui Ho'onua, to end the perpetuation of the trauma to the land, water, and people of the Ewamoku and restore Pu'uloa to Aina Momona. And that, you might look at me and who you and what you know, who you think you are, and you would be right. But it's the hui. It's this group of people and all of my students that I believe in. When I see what folks in He'eia and Nu'uanu and Molokai and all around the Pai'aina have done, where I've spent half my life, I believe in these hope spots. And when I see what my haumana do, I believe in change. So it's not my gifts, it's the gifts of my hui. And one thing I am is optimistic, because when you are working in the DOE and when you are working to restore Pu'uloa, it's the haumana and the hui and the pilina that you build that keeps you optimistic. So I think Ryan and his team, it wasn't Auntie Sandy that was the big draw. It's the hui, it's Pu'uloa. So we ground ourselves in learning from Kanaka Oiwi in the area, but we have really formed a rich hui that can help support them in whatever way that they want to malama Pu'uloa. And some people say, as a little nonprofit, we're trying to do too much, but we have crafted this with input from the community, including haumana from all over the Ewamoku, and we don't see that we can take anything out. And being culturally pono is on top for a reason. So we are excited and proud of what our community has already accomplished in a short time. But I will say, this was before the Red Hill crisis. We had already felt a sense of urgency because the shores of Pu'uloa are lined with these signs. And what was Aina Momona, what the mo'olelo of the Anaiholo tell Hamauia, or the silent fish, oysters. Ka'ahupahau, the guardian shark, was here. And that's not how it is now. My connection was unstable, Kalamai. But we see this, and so do the kids at Dream House. We see this as the Vai still being there. We still see that there are places of abundance. Some of them, Hawaiian stewards like Ali'i Minor, who have for generations been able to keep Loko'ia going right on next door to us, folks who have lo'i. So we see that we cannot have a sustainable future on Oahu without taking care of Pu'uloa. And the students at Dream House share that. So I will just say that the kumu there do not shelter their haumana from the tough stories. These kids are being trained to speak up, to testify, and to say that visions like this are not right. So we are working with these students to empower them to speak up. So I will just say, lots of stuff on websites, but I am so honored and excited to go on this journey and to support these amazing coaches, is what they call themselves, and these amazing young leaders. And also to be on this journey with all of you. I'm so inspired by what I have heard and seen from you all. And hopefully this is the last time you will ever hear my voice, because the haumana will be speaking from now on.
Oh, mahalo nui, Sandy. I hope not. I hope we still get to hear your voice, even if the haumana are taking it away most of the time. It's a beautiful story, and we appreciate, there's a lot of lessons in your humility and dedication to the land and people of Ewa and beyond. We do have a few more introductions left, and it looks like we'll likely go probably 10 minutes. I'm thinking 10 minutes over our scheduled time. If you need to go, of course, we all totally understand, and we appreciate all of you for giving this much of your time in this busy season. If you haven't given your introduction yet and you are willing to stay, I would love it, because it will be included in the recording. And we have, I think, 2 hui who aren't able to be represented tonight, who can add their videos, and they'll send videos into me, and I'll add those to the page. But just let that know, this is an amazing crew. It really is so inspiring. This is so uplifting in a really hard time for me and my ohana, to know that there are all these amazing stories and people out there is really important and beautiful. So mahalo for this evening. But Melissa, can I hand it over to you to introduce your hui? Are you still here? Yeah, there you are.
We are here. And Kalamai, it's kind of crazy around here right now. But we are anyway, they're getting close to bedtime. We are at least for now, we are hui mamo o tuahine, and hold on. And so I'm Melissa Orozco Vargas. I'm a mom to these 2. Also have a koa and lehua. And here next to us is Auntie Pauline Sato from Malama Learning Center. She is now a part of our ohana in many ways, because she's a neighbor, but now she and her pup Yama are here and friends with us too. But anyway, but that is sort of the essence of our hui, is that we are a hui of ohana, of ohana from Pekula Kaya Puni o Anuenue in Palolo Valley. And but while we are all there, we also have many connections to Manoa. In fact, we have the Ohana Tengan, we have Ohana Vitale, Ohana Kukahiko, and they're all staff or faculty at Manoa, and then yes, and they're all from Anuenue School, and they Olelo Hawaii, and we also have Navahine Lanceloti, and she is working with us from the East West Center Arts Program, and so we're excited. And yeah, and many just lots of connections going on with all of us, and everybody has history in many different ways. So what I've been thinking about is that, as you can see, we have a very playful bunch. To think about how we were talking story with Ikua, who is one of Koa's friends today, and they live in faculty housing at Manoa, and right behind is the stream. And Koa's like, Mom, we need to can we go fishing? And that's always Koa's first thing is, can I go fishing? Can we go play in the stream? And so
That's so funny.
in many ways, I'm thinking about the ways that we can highlight fun and play in the water in respectful way, and how we engage. And also Nava is she's a cellist, but has also done experimental sound. And so one of the things that we're interested in is using hydrophones and recording the water and finding out frequencies of the water, and listening, so yeah, ways that we can experience the vai and the kai in all of these ways that are, especially for our young ones, and bringing this into the school. I was thinking about the kids in Palolo who got washed in this in the flash flood, and and just thinking about safety, and how we can, what should we do, when can we fish, can we pull out invasive, can we or what is an invasive species, what is not. So yeah, that's us in a nutshell. Oh yeah, we're thinking about so many different ways, and it's really great to have someone, people who are in education as cool, but as environmental educators like Auntie Pauline, and yeah, so we're excited to be here and explore and have fun with all of you and each other as well. Mahalo.
Mahalo. Thank you, Melissa, Pauline, Koa Lehua, the pups too. Yeah, it's going to be a beautiful hui. And I love this, that one of the greatest gifts we have is this amazing playground, the ocean and the waters of Hawaii. And Hawaiians I feel like must have always known that, because otherwise, how do they master all of the different ways to play in the water and in the ocean? Must have been doing it for a long time. So yeah, fantastic. All right, I'd love to pass over to Christina and then Jennifer. And then if I am not noticing someone who has a hui to introduce, please let me know in the chat. Christina, are you still here?
Yes, I've just had some internet issues tonight, so I got knocked off, and so I hope I don't get knocked off again. But I'm an educator at Voyager Public Charter School, and I've been partnering up with Manoa Heritage Center for over a year now, and we want to explore this idea of bringing more awareness for our students about Manoa Valley and about our hupa'a, and trying to use this as a tool to help engage students and make them more knowledgeable about the mo'olelos, about the connection it has all the way from the mountain to the ocean. And anyways, it's really awesome to see all these other great ideas and ways to connect people and educate people, and having the kids maybe do that. we're still working on putting our hui together in terms of students. So we'll see what we can do, but that's where we're at right now. Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you, Christina. And I may have some, I'll reach out with some potential connections from other schools, some people in Manoa who might be interested in learning and working with you in the Heritage Center as well. So mahalo for that. Jennifer and all of the Parker School students. I know we have some of the Parker School students, some of them might have had to leave, but thank you all for joining us tonight.
I would totally defer this to them, but I'm going to give them the benefit of the fact that they have finals still to study for. So they are here and participating, and it's by my many reminders, I guess, on Google Classroom. So I'm appreciating the students that are here and also the ones that are cramming for their finals. We are a group from Parker School in Waimea, and it's really a confluence place. Waimea is such a place of gathering for our community. And Parker School, the red building, we have this iconic building in the community, and people will actually come to Saturday market and so many times tell me like, oh, I didn't know there was a school there. Of course, there's a huge sign that says Parker School, but their experience is as a visitor in and seeing the farmers market, and so they just can't connect Saturday to what we do Monday through Friday. We're K-12. We serve about 340 students in the community, and have been here since, I'd like to say I've been here the whole time, but since about 76, so I was just a wee one at that time. Really building the connections in the community. And for me, as a visitor to the islands for many years since the 70s, and then moving here, I called friends and said, okay, if I'm going to come to Waimea, is it still like 1 or 2 stoplights? Like, I wanted to make sure this is not turning into Oahu. And when I drive around and I go down to the water and I see my landscape, and I can see and appreciate the land here on the Big Island, really giving that appreciation to our students, so that they have that lifelong experience, and that our power is asking questions and being inquisitive. So I have strong-armed students from my STEM and technology group, but really we're a group that is our technology students, our ecology, eco club students, and our Hawaiian studies students. And they've kind of come together as clubs. And so it's really student leadership, all centering around these questions of what has been here, what is here, and what can we leave a legacy in our community. And because we have the mountain, the Kohala, we have this transformation going on with our watershed. Let's see our pictures, really, what's going on from what we had from plantation, and how our water was diverted and changed, and in the Kohala ditch, that's changing right now, and there's a lot of decisions being made, and structures of what's to come from how our watershed is being handled. And then we go down, we just travel 20 minutes and we're at the ocean, and we're looking at Kauai, Puako. We've got problems to solve, and I think it's not insurmountable. So our kids understand that, gosh, this is where we want to be. We want to be able to see the wildlife. We want to see the vibrancy here. And they wonder, like, why 5 years ago was it this way and it's not this way now? And why 2 years ago is it this way? So a lot of questions that they're asking. And I think, looking at the science and looking at technology, and really with that beginner mind of like, how do we investigate this and make it something to be impactful, and really figure out how water and how we impact our community going forward. We just had the largest wildfire of our state. That was where I'm sitting right now. It's dark, I'm looking out there, but that is the land that was burning In the picture that I have was a picture from my window. And we just looked at it, I was like, what's going on out there? Oh, there's a little fire. Well, this was this huge fire. So how can we then now restore this land and figure out what we can do with it? So partnering with the ranch, partnering with community members here and with our other teachers to really figure out and bring this to our students. One of the things our ecology club is looking at is, just regular old sustainable practices that if you're on the mainland, it's no problem that you compost, but it's hard to do recycling and composting and the things on our island. So how do we bring sustainability into daily practice here and teach our younger students so that they're really engaged with this and really tell our story. And so the ArcGIS, the mapping, the stories, to tell those stories so that we can really leave a legacy and not just kind of lose that learning every time somebody graduates and moves away. So really connecting with the people who we already know on our campus and really building their geography into a permanent place with our story maps. So that's us. I have a funny story. Let's see, there's some pictures and I'm in my canoe there representing the Parker Bulls. We have our senior in the tree, Makana, who is one of my students from last year. Part of our hui, we are just scrambling right now to get through studying and all of the fun stuff about school. And then my science teacher who's coming along in this journey, he said, I only have this picture of me as a skeleton. It's been a long, hard day. So I told them, you got to get out more. We're gonna get you down to the watershed and see land and see the water. But I think really it's the school spirit, and I want to be, one of the other people said, just not the representative, but the kids are the representative, and really knowing that they are so interested in learning and telling story, and figuring out how to solve problems. So that is us.
This is really is a beautiful crew that has assembled itself here, and I'm so thankful for all of you. And I recognize that we actually have a special member of the crew that I should have let speak for himself and represent Local Ea and Malama Local Ea Foundation. Jacob, are you still here? You with us? Oh,
Aloha.
Aloha, Jacob. I apologize for speaking on your behalf when I think you were in the room. So I'd love for you to share just a little bit about yourself and Malama Local Ea Foundation and Local Ea, such a beautiful wahipana. And with that, we will say goodnight because it's late and I want everybody to move on. But so Jacob, no pressure, but you're also our final act.
Okay, yeah, I'll try to make this quick. But first of all, I just want to say mahalo nui to you, Dan, and Purple Maya for inviting us to be a part of this awesome program. It's been super inspiring to hear from all of you, awesome educators and students and community members about all the work you're doing. So mahalo. But yeah, so I'm here representing Malama Local Ea. So we will be one of the sessions, in-person sessions. I believe the third one on February 19th, but I'm super excited for that. But just a little bit about us and kind of what we do. We're a nonprofit that was started in 2009 that was kind of founded by two community members of Waialua. After Kamehameha schools kind of reopened the space for community to come and start to restore that local i'a. These two community members, James Estoras and Benson Lee, started our nonprofit. And since then, we've been kind of doing a lot of restoration, a lot of education programs. And we've been really fortunate in the past couple of years to get a lot of funding to provide more of that for our community. I had a couple images, I guess, to just share a little bit about where we are. Let me see if I can kind of
You
share that.
gotta pull them up, Jacob, because that we're talking a lot about mountain to sea and the view of Kaala from
Oh,
local.
yeah.
Amazing.
Okay. Oh, it's not letting me share. Oh, sorry, I got there's privacy access issues. So I'm not sure if it's gonna let me share my screen here. Kalamai Dan.
I can share it because I've got the website up and it's stunning.
Okay. If you don't mind, Sandy, yeah. But just a little bit about our space. We take care of a 400-year-old local ia out in the Moku of Waialua. But it's kind of right next to Haleiwa town. And the ahupua'a of this place is actually Kawailoa. So that's all the way from the Ko'olau Mountains down to kind of like the Waialua Bay area. So so I guess a little bit about Loko'ea though. We've basically made it our mission, I guess, to provide this space for our community. Basically, we think of ourselves, I guess, as a vessel for our community to come and start building Pilina with this place. Because for many years, community did not have access to this space. So now that it's a little bit more open, and now that we have people interested in the restoration, and we're doing a lot of educational programs, we want to make it a space or like kind of a pu'uhonua for our community to come and learn about a lot of our cultural practices, and also learn about how local ia function, and participate in the restoration themselves. So that's kind of what we're doing. We've been doing a lot of different things in the past year even. We've started a summer program that we hope to continue in the next couple of years. We've started a cultural workshop series where we've done things like la'au lapa'au, and hope to do a lot more in the coming months, along with our regular like community work days and field trips from different school groups. Yeah. But yeah, that's just a little bit about us. But hopefully, like when we have a lot of you folks come out for, or whoever can make it on this Mokupuni, come out to Loko'ea for the February 19th session. We can learn a little bit more about like the history of the waters of the area, and some of the changes that have happened. That's one thing that we're really interested in learning more about ourselves and deepening our understanding is like how the kai and the vai have changed over time, and kind of mapping that, and also integrating some stories of kupuna in the area as well. So that's kind of a little outline of what we're trying to put together. But yeah, mahalo nui again for inviting us to this project. It's super exciting. Yeah.
Oh, mahalo, Jacob. Yeah, important members of the crew. It's a magical place and really magical people out there at Loko'ea, and their partners over on the beach with Vananapoa, the voyaging canoe. So excited for all of us who can make it. I'm going to send a follow-up to this meeting. I'll send an email, and I'll update our story map to make sure that everyone has the most up-to-date information. But I would say that the next major deadline is going to be January 8th. That's just an opportunity to sign up to attend some of these sessions. So just keep an eye out for that in the email, and keep your hui posted, and I'll post a recording of this session so that everybody can see it. And it's just a real pleasure to hear from all of you. I couldn't be more honored and thrilled to to be voyaging with all of you. So thank you to everybody. Mahalo nui. And I will stay on for a couple more minutes, but I'm going to stop the recording.